let's talk about 2005.
2005, I thought myself, it's time I went to New Orleans and Mississippi Delta and Memphis and Chicago and checked that all out. If I only ever go once, well, at least I'll be satisfied that I've seen it all, and get a bit of a better taste and a better feel for what I've been sort of singing about and so interested in for so long. So it was a blues odyssey, but the blues odyssey became the blues initiation. And I mean, before I went, I sent applications to blues festivals all over the country, everywhere. Anyway, I got lucky and I snagged a gig at the Winthrop Rhythm and Blues Festival, which is Winthrop's sort of maybe about 4 hours east of Seattle, up in Washington State.
Okay.
And so that was my very first blues festival. I actually ended up another story, but I ended up doing some gigs prior to that actual festival. But it was there I met the Manish Boys and Carlos Montoya, and was his name Carlos Montoya?
Yeah.
Yeah, Carlos Montoya. W.C. Clark and John Namath and all kind of cats, and
Wonderful blues men.
And they were very supportive of me, very friendly towards me, and that was the sort of the
Coco Montoya.
That's it, Coco. I knew it was something like that. And he's a big bloke too. He's taller than I am, and I'm reasonably tall. So it became the blues initiation, as it turned out. I ended up jamming with Pointop Perkins. I met bloody Honeyboy Edwards, all sorts of people. It just sort of...
That's memorable stuff.
Well, yeah, I appeared on the King Biscuit Time radio show, and I played at the in Clarksdale at the... Well, I set up a PA in the street. Just invited myself to play. But everybody was so welcoming and so warm towards me that I've been going ever since. I'm actually flying into New Orleans on the 11th of June this year for my 6th tour in the last 10 years.
You are back with Baz. You're listening to Blues on the Hill. My special studio guest is Andy Sugarcane Collins. He's come from way up north, and we were just talking off air, Andy, the tour. You've been on the road for a long time. Tell us about it.
Oh, look, every year for the last 10 years I've sort of done an East Coast summer tour. I wouldn't come down here in winter, mate. That's for sure. So usually I kick off any time, usually second week of January, sometimes a little bit later, because it's sometimes hard to get gigs sort of so close after New Year's Eve. The pubs have had a gut full of it, and they don't really want to book too much. So usually about middle of January, and I usually get home late April, early May. So it's usually a 3 or 4 month tour. I load up my Land Cruiser station wagon. I fit all my PA and lights and stuff in the back, my guitars and so on and so forth. The back seats got the clothes, the swag, the extra CDs, my books that I like to read, posters, all that sort of stuff. Front seats got the tucker bags and my maps and everything else. I haven't got those pathfinders on your dashboard or anything like that.
No GPS.
Nah. And so and off I go. And I have an agent in Sydney who books my gigs for me, and I play all kind of places, which is great. Some towns that I've been to that I wouldn't ordinarily go to because I wouldn't really have a reason to go in there, but I've got to some real out of the way places doing gigs over the last 10 years. It's been great. Plus I catch up with family and friends. I mean, we've all got family and friends scattered up and down the East Coast, and that's another good aspect of it. It's sort of like a working holiday almost. But look, it lets the rest of Australia, certainly the East Coast of Australia, know I exist. I never toured much prior to that. I was too busy, working up north. There were a lot of gigs, back in the early and middle part of my career. And as I said before, I was raising a family. I wasn't in a position where I could tour, and luckily there was enough work to keep me to keep me occupied up north. But as the children have grown up and left home and doing their own thing, and the music up there has slowly but surely died, I was fortunate to find an agent who was prepared to book these tours for me. And so I was actually at a bit of a crossroad at 2005. I went to America and everything. I did wonder where my career was going to go, because I certainly wasn't going to move south. I left the south, a long time before, because I wanted to live in the tropics and do my thing up there. So there was no way I was going to move down south to keep it all going. But that was when I luckily stumbled across an agent who I said was prepared to book the tours for me, and my career was able to continue on. And now, as I say, over the last 10 years, a few people out there have discovered who I am.
Now let's hear another live one. What's
Okay.
next? Well,
All right. Well, look, I might just diverge off the Way Up North album.
Yeah.
And do a basically, you were talking before about what do I think, what does the blues represent to me? Well, this next song pretty well tells it in a nutshell. This is the title track of my 2007 Australian Blues Album of the Year, called Way Down the River. This is a song called Way Down the River. Now, when I was in Clarksdale, Mississippi in 2005, I sang this song for a group of middle-aged African-American people who grew up in the South at a time before the Civil Rights Movement, at a time when an African-American person could be lynched on a Saturday night for merely looking at a white person. They lived through those times. And when I sang this song, I said to them, look, I'm going to sing you a song now. The lyrics cut very close to the bone, and I hope I don't offend you in any way, but this is what I make of it all. And anyway, when I finished the song, one of the guys looked up at me and said, Sugarcane, you got something going on. So, right now we're going to go way down the river. Way down the Mississippi River. Way down to the land where the blues began. Way down the river, where the blues began. So much beauty came from a hostile, brutal land. Way down the river, deep down where the blues began. So much beauty came from a hostile, brutal land. Pick the cotton, yeah, and pull a cone, and live in slavery from the moment you were born. Sold down the river, deep down to the Delta land. So much beauty came from a hostile, brutal land. At the end of the week, when the work was done, sing and dance to a distant tribal drum, and make new music with whatever comes to hand. So much beauty came from deep down in the Delta land. it's old Jim Crow. Any way you can get there, sweet home Chicago, you gon' play the blues and pay your dues. You're a Southside citizen. And dream of the days down south where the blues began. Way down the river after a midnight shower rain, some lonesome woman's calling out some no good rambler's name. But the old Mississippi don't say nothing, but sure does understand. By the beauty and the terror deep down where the blues begin. Way down the river, way down the river, way down the river, way down the river, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Beautiful stuff. That is the blues, folks. Raw, unrehearsed, live. It's the way it should be.
Well, that's the way you're playing at the gig. The only difference is it ain't amplified.